Welcome, subscribers, to the Saturday Summary for April 12th of 2014, your weekly summary of market and economic news for annuity and life insurance professionals. As always, I'm Jonathan Illig of Brokers Alliance and Outlook Advisors, here for the biz. Now, another volatile week ended with 2 days of stock selling, bringing all the broad U.S. indexes to negative results year to date. Now, the markets rallied on Wednesday with the release of the minutes from the March 2014 Fed meeting, but that was followed by 2 days of declines. Now, of note, the S&P has now declined below its psychological level of 1840, the point of resistance for some time now. The index closed at 1815 on Friday. However, the S&P 500 fared much better than the NASDAQ Composite and Russell 2000 indexes, which posted weekly losses of 3.1 and 3.64% respectively. Now, none of this thus far is tantamount to much more than just a dip in the markets. Neither the weekly results nor the year-to-date results for the broad indexes are anywhere near the level of a correction, which is most commonly considered a drop of 10% or more. Now, I believe that this is simply another sign of an overvalued market that is coming off its heroin-like addiction to easy Fed stimulus money and artificially low interest rates. Now, as my headline said, perhaps the bubble is just simply starting to deflate slowly rather than bursting. If so, and let's hope that's the case, because a crash is not good for anyone. Now, what does all this really mean for our near-term retirement and already retired clients? Well, a $1 million portfolio that tracks the S&P 500 lost $26,500 this week. $36,400 this week if the portfolio tracked the Russell 2000. For someone nearing retirement, that $26,500 loss this week is about equal to 1 year of the average what we call foundation income that needs to be generated from retirement savings to supplement Social Security benefits. Now, this is based, of course, upon the real retirement income planning cases that we do here every week at Brokers Alliance using our income architect method. But what this week and the year-to-date results are really telling our near retirees and already retired clients is that the markets seem to be at a peak, meaning that barring some economic miracle, there seems to be only a downward direction to go. Now, this is also what more and more market pundits are saying this week in the financial press, excepting, of course, the always present perennial bulls. Now, looking at our articles this week, we see CNBC's ubiquitous Jim Cramer on Friday publishing an article titled "The Bear Case and 10 Easy Lessons." And to quote Mr. Cramer, he says in that article, "We've seen this movie before in 2000. Now, an article by Lance Roberts titled "No One Will Ring the Bell at the Top" compares market conditions, such as the levels of margin debt, the derivatives market, and the generally overvalued stocks that we've been discussing in the summary for weeks now, as, quote, "These ingredients by themselves are inert. It is because they are inert that they are quickly dismissed under the guise of 'this time is different.' But like a thermite reaction, when these relatively inert ingredients are ignited by a catalyst, they will burn extremely hot." Now, Mr. Roberts closes his articles with, "Yet in the end, no one will come ring the bell at the top and ask everyone to please exit the building in an orderly fashion. Rather," says Mr. Roberts, "it will be a Costanza moment as the adults, that is, the professionals, trample the children, that's the average retail investor, just to flee the building in a moment of panic." Now, Mr. Roberts is, of course, referring to the famous Seinfeld episode in which George Costanza knocks over an old woman and some children in order to flee a kitchen fire. Now, if you're nearing retirement or already retired and all or the majority of your retirement assets are in this market, I will remind you that once a big sell-off commences, it can be very hard to get out in time. Just as these large institutional traders often stay in risky markets too long because they're afraid of missing out, the opposite is also true. Once things look like they are going negative, they're also afraid of being left behind. Now, as Gary Hasselman of Scotiabank wrote back in early March, there is a threshold point where the tide reverses and investors join in a sell-off race to avoid being left behind. Now, the average person, again, saving for retirement, can get trampled in this panic. Again, a George Costanza moment. So this brings me to the question, so what are the options for retirees and near retirees? Well, one of their options are annuities, which are insurance products that are essentially risk management tools intended for retirement. Now, with these tools, when a market index rises, you get a piece of the rise, subject to a limit. When that market index declines, your money does not decline. Now, we can think of this as two trains running on parallel railroad tracks. The index-based train, or the annuity, if you will, sometimes goes fast, sometimes slows down, but it never goes backwards. It doesn't have a reverse gear. Now, we compare that to the other train, unprotected market risk, which can go very fast, sometimes slows down, and can go backwards very quickly. Now, there are a lot of flavors available with these risk management tools. And I would encourage all retirees and near retirees to evaluate them and their benefits for themselves. Like any other financial choice, they are not for all of your money, but they might be appropriate for some of it. Now, we at Brokers Alliance and at Outlook Advisors are expert at not only the design of these financial tools, but also their proper deployment in a retirement plan. So contact us if you want to learn more about them. Now, for this week's featured quote, we go to Jim Reed of Deutsche Bank, who on April 11th, Friday, wrote, "We can't help thinking that this becomes ever clearer that the Fed is pretty much fixed in its determination to stop QE late this year. The oxygen that has fueled the 5-year bull market is clearly draining out of the stock market." Well, I like to say, well said, Mr. Reed, and again, that seems to be what's happening. Well, that's all I got time for today. If you want to see something covered in the summary or have comments, contact me at the email address scrolling along the bottom of your video player. Now, if you want a better quality of true support in your life and annuity practice, again, more than just products, contact us here at Brokers Alliance and we'll show you how we take care of our producer clients. Well, that's it. That's your summary for Saturday, April 12th, 2014. Thank you, as always, for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next Saturday.